Hello, whisperers. Welcome to the channel. If you enjoy tonight's tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It helps more than you know. Now, dim the lights, and let's begin tonight's story. There's something wrong with my reflection, not the mirrors, me. I've seen it in 5 different houses now, across 3 states, and it always comes back to the same thing, that warped smile in the glass that I didn't make, the way my eyes linger after I walk away. It's not the house, it's not the land. Whatever this thing is, I'm not being haunted. I'm being rewritten. I moved in on a Tuesday. It was raining hard enough to wash the color off the world. The street was slick and quiet. The only sounds the drumming of water on my windshield and the occasional creak from the moving truck behind me. Kettering Lane was supposed to be peaceful. 3 houses sat on my side of the block, each spaced far apart with ivy-covered fences and crooked mailboxes. The air smelled like rotted leaves and wet stone. I signed the lease without even visiting in person. It was a panic decision, post-breakup, post-job, post-city. I just needed to be gone from everywhere else. The house was narrow and tall, 2 stories with a gabled roof like a crooked hat. Gray paint peeled from the siding. The porch had a swing that never quite stopped moving even after the wind died down. I remember thinking the steps felt soft underfoot, like the wood had hollowed out. Inside it smelled like cold ash and lavender. The realtor had sprayed something sweet to hide the age, but beneath it was something old, mildewed, something that stuck in the throat. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was just the bones of a tired house. I didn't unpack right away. I spent the first night on a mattress on the floor of the upstairs bedroom, surrounded by half-open boxes and silence. My phone had no service. I figured it was just the storm. That night, I heard the creaking. It started from the hallway, slow, rhythmic, 1 footstep at a time. I sat up, heart thudding against my ribs. I hadn't locked the bedroom door. I hadn't even thought to. But when I stepped into the hallway, it was empty, no sound, no light except for the moon bleeding through the attic hatch. That should have been it. First night paranoia. But I couldn't shake the feeling I'd interrupted something, like I'd caught someone mid-step. The next morning, I noticed the mirror. It hung in the upstairs hallway across from the linen closet. Plain wood frame, dust-coated glass. I was sure it hadn't been there the night before. I would have seen my reflection coming out of the bedroom. But there it was, centered like it had always been. When I stood in front of it, something about my reflection made my scalp crawl. My posture looked subtly off. My shoulders slouched just a bit too far. My expression didn't match what I felt. I left it alone. Over the next 3 days, things got worse in ways too small to explain to anyone. I'd hear the porch swing creaking when the wind was still. Lights I hadn't touched flickered or changed color. My shoes were always misaligned when I went to put them on. I'd close my laptop only to hear faint typing from it 10 minutes later. I started keeping it unplugged. I caught my reflection smiling once when I wasn't. Then came the crying. It wasn't sobbing. It was quieter, more restrained. A woman's voice, muffled through drywall like she was pressed up behind it. It came from the far end of the hallway, near a locked door I'd assumed was a closet. But there was no gap beneath it, no doorknob, just painted over trim and a faint outline. I stood there for a long time, just listening. I could almost make out the words. He said I could leave. He said, then silence. That night, I ran. I didn't pack. Just got in the car and drove until the house was behind me. Every glance in the rear view felt like she was catching up. I ended up at a motel with broken blinds and stained walls. I shut every curtain and turned on the TV to drown the silence. The screen glitched to static before flicking to a frozen menu screen. A single title blinked at me. You can't move away from this. I yanked the plug from the wall. The screen stayed on for 3 more seconds before fading to black. Back at the house the next morning, the porch swing was still swaying. Inside, I found muddy footprints across the hardwood floor, barefoot, small, circling the living room in figure eights. They climbed the stairs and stopped outside my bedroom door. That's where I saw the writing, carved deep into the wood, long vertical scratches that read, I remember you now. I tried to talk to someone. The neighbor across the street was in her garden, digging into packed dirt with gloved hands. I asked if anything strange had happened on the block. She didn't look up, just said, you brought it with you. That night, I locked every door and window, turned on every light, sat on the mattress and waited. Then the hallway light shut off. One by one, every bulb in the house went dark. I had replaced them all earlier that day. No reason for them to fail. I was swallowed by blackness, and I could hear the crying again, closer now. Inside the room, wet, ragged breaths curling through the air. I didn't sleep. In the morning, I found the mirror on the bathroom floor, cracked. But that wasn't what froze me. It was what was written across the glass in something dark and sticky. She's getting inside. I touched the letters. My fingers fit perfectly into the grooves, like I had written it myself. But I didn't remember doing it. At least, I don't think I did. The blood on the mirror was dry when I came back with cleaning supplies. Brown, flaky, not fresh. I stood in the doorway staring at the cracked glass for too long. It hadn't moved since I left it there, but the air around it felt wrong, still and thick, like a breath held just a second too long. The message was carved deep. She's getting inside. I studied the letters, the way the loops curved, the weight of the lines. It looked like my handwriting, almost, close enough to unsettle, like someone was trying to copy me, trying to be me. I left the mirror face down on the bathroom floor and shut the door. I didn't clean anything. I just sat in the kitchen for hours, thinking. That afternoon, I tried looking up the house's previous owner. The lease had listed a John Matheson. I called the number on file, out of service. The company that managed the property had no forwarding information, no alternate contact, just a name, a signature, and a sale date from 8 years ago. I turned to the internet, typed in his name, then the address. I got nothing. But when I searched for the house again, something strange happened. My own name came up. Not a listing, not public records. Forum posts, old ones, from a decade ago, under a username I barely remembered, Kettering Shadows 84. The posts were long, disjointed, paranoid. They talked about mirror infection, about something that follows when you move but waits when you stay, a woman with stitched eyes, a reflection that doesn't blink when you do. Every post read like a warning, written in my voice. I don't remember typing any of it, but I read it all like I had. That night I woke up standing in the hallway. My bare feet were cold, wet. The hallway light was off. My chest was tight, like I'd run there. I couldn't remember walking, couldn't remember dreaming, just a fog that ended with me frozen halfway between sleep and reality. And the attic door was open. I stepped toward the attic and grabbed the ladder, but something stopped me. A flicker of movement behind me, just out of sight. The hallway light clicked on. I turned, and at the far end of the hall, the mirror caught my eye. It showed the ladder, and me, but I hadn't started climbing yet. In the mirror, my reflection was already halfway up, one hand on a higher rung, one foot rising, smiling. I was still standing flat on the floor. I ran, out of the attic, out of the house, into the cold in nothing but my sleep clothes. My breath stung my lungs. The sky above was too still, too open. My reflection's smile followed me in the back of my mind. I drove without thinking, ended up at a library. I sat at a computer and typed the only thing I could think of. How can a ghost follow a person? Most of the results were folklore, trauma-bound hauntings, residual energy, spiritual parasites. Some talked about mirrors, reflections, identity distortion, recursion. One article stopped me cold. A newspaper clipping archived online. Headline: Man institutionalized after series of paranormal accusations and self-harm incidents. It was my name and my face. The article described how I'd been found in a previous home, carving symbols into the walls, rambling about a woman who lives behind the glass, ranting to no one, then disappearing during transport to a new psychiatric facility. I had no memory of it, but there was no denying the photo. It was me, gaunter, wild-eyed, unshaven. I looked afraid, or worse, relieved. I went back to the house. The mirror in the bathroom was gone. The scratches on the bedroom door were deeper now, carved with precision. New words, let her finish. I locked myself in the bedroom and buried under the blankets. I didn't eat. I didn't speak. I just lay there and waited for silence to stop feeling like a setup. Eventually, I set up my phone camera across from the mirror and hit record. I sat in front of it, just watched myself. When I played it back, there was a change I hadn't noticed live. At one point, only for a frame or two, my face shifted, not twisted, not monstrous, just off. One eye blinked, the other didn't, and then I whispered something, barely audible but clear. It's not a ghost, it's what I become. I don't remember saying it. I don't remember thinking it. Later that night, someone knocked on the front door. 3 times, Slow, intentional. I crouched at the top of the stairs, heart beating behind my teeth. A voice called from outside. It was mine, but warped, off pitch, like an old recording played through underwater speakers. It said my name again and again, louder each time, more eager, more alive. Then silence. When I finally opened the door, no one was there, but carved into the porch wood, just below the threshold, were the words, "You are not haunted. You are changing." I stopped using mirrors. I covered the bathroom one with a towel, draped a sheet over the hallway glass, turned off the front-facing camera on my phone, brushed my teeth by memory, shaved in the dark. I couldn't risk seeing what might be looking back, because it wasn't me anymore. Not fully. The night after the knocking, I woke up with blood in my mouth. The inside was raw, torn like I'd been chewing through the roof in my sleep. I don't sleepwalk. I never used to. But that morning, there were muddy footprints in the kitchen, my own size, barefoot, leading from the stairs to the counter, where a steak knife lay beside a shattered plate. The stove was on. I never touched it. I left the house that afternoon, not to run, to understand. The name of the facility from the article, St. Mirren Institute, was real, long abandoned but still on public record. It sat off a winding back road, half swallowed by pine trees and fog. I found a way in through a broken side door. Inside, dust, mold, and old light through cracked windows, peeling linoleum, doors with frosted windows, long since shattered. One room still had my name on it, room 13B. The plaque was rusted over, but the letters underneath were still visible if you looked close enough. Inside, the walls were covered in smudged handprints, not childlike, not playful, desperate, mine. A desk stood in the corner with a sealed plastic sleeve resting on top, a journal water-damaged but intact. Inside were pages filled with sketches. Over and over again, a woman, faceless, hair like dripping ink, stitched eyelids, always one arm extended, one finger pointing, always to the right. The final page wasn't a drawing, it was a sentence, repeated, shaky, until the pen bled through. When she's done copying me, there won't be anything left. I dropped the journal, backed into the bed frame. My hand brushed something cold beneath it. A mirror. Face up. She was already staring at me. But it wasn't her anymore. It was me. My clothes. My face. The scar over my left eyebrow. But she moved before I did. Smiled before I even felt fear. I ran. Didn't even make it to the car before I vomited in the gravel. That night, I didn't dream from inside myself. I dreamed from the corner of the room, watching. I saw myself twitch in sleep, roll onto my back, mouth move without words. Then I whispered to no one, "She's almost done." I went back to the house with one plan. Burn it. I brought a gas can and matches. No hesitation. Soak the bed, the floors, every wall, every threshold. The house sagged around me like it knew what was coming. But just as I was about to strike the match, I noticed something strange. The basement door was open. It hadn't been before. It hadn't even existed. I stepped inside. The stairs creaked like ribs. The air was damp and thick, filled with the scent of wet concrete and something rotting sweet. A single light bulb swayed from the ceiling. The walls were lined with mirrors, dozens of them. Same frame as the first one I saw in the hallway. Some cracked, some whole, all of them reflecting 1,000 versions of me. But they weren't in sync. Each moved slightly different, out of rhythm. A blink late, a hand too slow. And in the center of the room, drawn in a circle of something black and slick, sat a videotape labeled The Final Self. I brought it to someone I barely knew, Anna, from a college photography class. She still had a working VCR, didn't ask questions when I showed up, just let me in and press play. The screen flickered, and there I was, not present me, older footage, different haircut, same eyes. I sat in front of a mirror, smiling, and I spoke. If you're watching this, she's already inside. You think it's a ghost. You think you're the victim. But this is how she moves. She doesn't follow you. She becomes you. She mimics and replaces. She doesn't want to haunt you. She wants to be you. I raised a hand in the video, waved slowly, then smiled wider. And when she's done, the part that's left, that little piece of you, it doesn't die. It just drifts, watches, forgotten, while something else wears your skin. The tape ended. Anna asked me to leave. She didn't say why. Didn't need to. As I passed the mirror in her hallway, I saw her again. Only this time, she wasn't mimicking me. This time, she blinked first. Now I keep moving. No homes. No mirrors. I write this in the back of a gas station receipt because I'm starting to forget what my voice sounds like. I whisper to myself when I'm alone, just to see if I can still hear it. But I already know the truth. I saw her again last night, not in a mirror, in a store window. She wasn't behind me anymore. She was ahead of me, smiling. If you find this, burn it. Burn the mirrors. Burn your own face if you have to, because she doesn't haunt houses. She haunts people. And you looked at me for too long.